Me again, Ray, with another tale from the past. This time I was about 12 years old, and where I lived, where I still live in the same area, about a half a mile, if that, probably quarter of a mile, there was some land, fields, woods. There were two farms, I think. It was great fun. You know, summer holidays, 6 weeks summer holiday of school, I could be found virtually every day over in the woods, the fields. There was a haystack, there was a pond. It was just great fun for kids. Yeah, there were quite a few kids used to get over there. But I was there just about every day, unless it was pouring with rain. And I went over there one day. You know, you could leave your bike. I used to walk there usually, but if I ever took my bike, I could chuck my bike down in the brambles. I could spend a few hours in the woods mucking about by the pond. Come back later, the bike's still there. You know, it wasn't stolen, unlike these days. I wouldn't be there for 5 minutes. Not that it was a particularly good bike. Anyway, I was over there. It was 6 weeks summer holiday. I was over there with this other boy. I didn't like him much, but you know, he was in my class at school. And we were just walking across the field to the woods when this girl, about our age, about 12 years old, she came over. And she looked a bit scruffy, but so did I. I mean, she had this sort of, it was like in the 50s and early 60s. You know, you've probably seen photos of the kids, or you might even remember if you're my age or older. She had a sort of dress, a cardigan type thing on top. You know, very much sort of a 50s type look. And her clothes were pretty dirty. Mind you, I say that, so were mine. I had my old jeans on, my old shoes. You know, these were my sort of going out and playing in the woods clothes. I remember my mother saying, you know, I'm not washing your jeans every day, because wash day was once a week. Monday was wash day, and bath night was Sunday. You only had a bath Sunday night. Rest of the week you had to smell. Well, it wasn't quite that bad, but she looked like that, so I didn't think anything of her tatty old clothes. Her shoes were scuffed. Her cardigan had, you know, holes, not holes, but, you know, worn here and there. Anyway, this boy I was with, you know, nasty bit of work he was. As she came over, he said, "What do you want?" And I said to leave her, she's all right. And anyway, she said nothing. And he looked at her and he said, "Oh, flea bags." Anyway, he walked off into the woods. Flea bags, I mean, that's not very nice, is it? So I sort of smiled at her and I said, "He's horrible." And she sort of half smiled back at me. And you know, I said, "I haven't seen you here before." And you know, she wasn't very talkative. That was my first meeting with her. She wasn't very talkative. He was going into the woods and calling me. And I said, "Oh, I better go." You know, I said, "I'll see you here again." She just said, "Yes, okay." I followed him into the woods. So basically, that was my first meeting with her. The next time I went over the woods, she was there again. Well, in the field. What it was, there was limbrick shops. Okay, just by Limbrick Lane, there's limbrick shops. It was Limbrick Copse, I think it was called. You go across the A259 into the woods. There was a sort of entrance into the field. There's that field. You've got the farm, or a farm over there. You've got the woods here. Keep going. There's another farm. It was just all land. It was great. The pond, you know, had stick insects, newts. Well, not stick insects, stickleback fish or whatever they were. Anyway, it was great fun. And the girl was there, and she had greasy hair. You could see her hair was sort of matted. It was greasy, and she looked, well, as I've called the video, waif and stray. She looked a little bit like that. But you know, she was okay. I said, "I'm Ray." I said, "What's your name?" And she said, "Tilly." I'd never heard that name before, Tilly. And you know, I just tried to get chatting. She wasn't easy to chat with. I tried to chat with her a bit. I said, "I haven't seen you at school," because there was only basically one school in the area, you know, that we all went to. I don't know where there are other schools, probably quite a distance away. And I said, "I haven't seen you at school, you know." And she said, "I don't go to school." And I remember thinking, well, that's lucky. I wish I didn't go to school, because I hated it. I just remember thinking, imagine that, no school. I could go to the woods and the fields every day. It would be terrific. But you know, I did think that a bit odd. I said, you know, I can't remember my exact words, but I said, "Why don't you go to school?" I did ask her. And I remember she just did that. You know, just didn't go to school. She started to look around, you know, and I assumed she was looking for the other, you know, that boy that was with me. And I said, "Oh, the other boy is not here." And she said, "He's horrid," which I thought funny. Horrid, I like that. She said he's horrid. Anyway, we sort of started wandering towards the woods, and she pointed out a bird. I forget what bird it was, and she said, "Oh, that's a whatever bird." And she seemed interested in the countryside. And as we got into the woods, there was I couldn't get much out of her information, you know, but we were just sort of chatting. She was very interested in the animals and the wildlife, and there was an old flint wall. I never forget that, because people used to, from the main road, they used to chuck bags of rubbish over it, which was a shame. You know, not a lot, but there were one or two bits there. It spoil the woods. It's just, I don't know why people do that. But anyway, this flint wall, she walked up to it and she said, "Look, wren's nest." And there was this little round nest sort of made out of moss and stuff with a little hole in it. And I did recognise it as a wren's nest. And I said, "Oh, yeah, you're right." It was empty. There was nothing in it. The wrens had gone. But then she pointed out one or two other things. Wild flowers. She'd say, "Oh, that's whatever." You know, these names. She knew all the names for all the wild flowers. I was quite impressed. And I wondered at that stage whether she came from one of the farms. Because, yeah, there was a farm sort of that way. You don't know where that way is, do you? Well, kind of over there. And there was one further. There was a track that went right up there to a farm. Then if you keep going, there was a lake. Somerset Lake, it was called. Somerset was the chap that owned the land up there. Was it Mr. Somerset or Lord? Perhaps it was just Mr. Somerset. But it was Somerset Lake and all that. Trespassers will be prosecuted and stuff. So, of course, when I went to the lake on the odd occasion, you do. If it says keep out, you've got to go in and have a look, haven't you? Actually, it was Somerset Pond. It was actually a lake. No fishing and stuff, notice. It doesn't matter what it was called. But I spent, you know, I don't know how long, a couple of hours with this girl, with Tilly, looking around, and she was interested in the pond. That's the little pond, not the big lake up the track. This pond was, I don't know, about the size of a largest garden, average garden perhaps. And there, you know, as I said earlier, there's sticklebacks and newts and stuff like that. And she's pointing these out. She knew them. You know, she said, "Oh, that's a whatever newt it was, a type of newt." Anyway, that was that. I went there. Next time I went there, she was there again. Same clothes, mind you, same as me. I had the same clothes on, so that wasn't. You know, I didn't think anything odd. There was nothing odd about her really. She was a bit not obnoxious little madam. No, that's not right. She was a bit rude. You know, I tried to find out where she lived. I said, "Do you live on one of the farms?" "No." That was the answer. "No." I said, "Where do you live?" And she just said, "Not telling." Okay, you know, I thought I was trying to become friends with her, but it was difficult. Anyway, I saw, you know, I had the whole 6 week summer holiday, and I saw her sort of the next day and the next day. She wasn't always there, not every single day. Mind you, neither was I. If it was raining, I wasn't there. But I saw a lot of her, and we always did sort of more or less the same thing. We'd look in the pond, and you know, the water boatmen and stuff. She knew all the stuff. She knew the pond plants, and you know, I really liked her. I got to like her, even though she was a bit strange. No, not strange. That's the wrong word. She was a bit, I suppose, a bit snappy, a bit rude. She was cold. You couldn't kind of get near her at all. She wouldn't open up. Towards the end of the 6 week summer holiday, though, school was looming. Dreaded the thought. But there was a haystack. You go into the entrance, you go left. There was a I'm just saying this because, you know, obviously some people will know the area way back then. If you go in and go left, there was a haystack, and some kids had pulled out some bales, probably much to the farmer's delight. Actually, I do remember that farmer, that particular one. He was a grumpy old man. I'm not surprised, but you wouldn't want kids all over your land, would you, like us lot? Anyway, we went into, you know, Tilly and I went into the haystack, And it was like a den, a camp, and we were chatting in there, and she was talking about barley and wheat and all that. I remember thinking then she definitely comes from the farm, one of the farms, definitely. She knew so much about the countryside, she had to. I didn't sort of ask her again. I thought it would be nice to ask her to tea. In those days, you used to go to other kids' houses for tea, or come to my house for tea and all this stuff. All it was your mum would make kind of jam sandwiches or whatever and a drink, and that's it. So I said to her, would you like to come to tea at my house? And she just said no. I thought, you're not, oh no thanks, or thanks anyway, or anything like that, just no. I just said, oh, okay, in fact, there was one time, I felt sorry for her. There was one time I met her over there, and I'd gone over to the shop to get a bottle of Tizer. Do you remember Tizer? They hadn't got any, so they said, we got 7-Up, this can. I'd never heard of it, so I bought this 7-Up, and it was lovely. I like 7-Up. Now, product placement, I would have a can here, and they can pay me. But I felt sorry for her, so what I did was I took a couple of sandwiches over one day, and I said, would you like a sandwich? No. I thought she was hungry. I thought that she was perhaps from a poor family. I changed my mind about the farm towards the end of the holiday, because I just thought she was from a poor family. There were there were a lot around. I remember at school, we all pay our 2 and 6, our half-crown dinner money, and there were quite a few kids in the class that didn't pay for school dinners because their families couldn't afford it, and I just thought perhaps she was in that situation. So she didn't want the sandwich, she didn't want a drink, but I'd known her sort of not every day, but most of the 6 weeks, and we got on quite well. She taught me a lot about the countryside and everything. And then school really was looming. The day before I had to go back to school, I went over there. I remember my mum saying, don't go over the woods, you've got school tomorrow. I don't know how that would affect it. Why can't I go to the woods? Anyway, I went to the woods anyway. Didn't take any notice, as usual. I went over there. Some idiot had burnt the haystack down. There's just this sort of black charred ground where the haystack was, probably kids smoking in the haystack. That was a shame. And I went over there, and Tilly was looking at it, at the sort of charred ground, the black ground, and I just went over. I said hi, I said, oh no, who's done this? And she didn't sort of say much. I said, look, it's the last day. I was hoping to sit in the haystack with her, but that was the end of that. As I said, no one of the farmer didn't like kids around. So it was the last, I said to her, it's the last day, I've got school tomorrow, I won't be able to see you. And she didn't sort of comment. I think she was more interested in the haystack that had been burnt down than what I was saying. So I said, Tilly, I won't be able to see you till next weekend. I said it'll be Saturday. I didn't go over in the evenings after school. Sometimes I did, but normally, you get in from school by the time you've changed, and then you've got sort of meal time and stuff. So it was mainly weekends. So I spent some time with her, but I can't remember how long, 2 or 3 hours. She was always glum. That's a good word, always glum. I don't know why. She did laugh on 1 or 2 occasions over the time I knew her there. Can't remember what I said, but I made her laugh once or twice. And I said anyway, in the end, I said, look, school tomorrow, I've got to go, bye and stuff. And I remember thinking, because I was 12, I remember thinking, wonder whether I should kiss her, but I didn't. I thought, no, I better not do that. I don't know why. I think I was scared to kiss her. I'd got over the stage where you hate girls, and I was taking an interest in them at this stage, but I didn't have the courage to do that. So I just said goodbye, and I said, I'll see you at the weekend. And she did. She sort of half smiled and did that as I walked off. And that was that. By now you're probably thinking, well, what's this video about? Where's the ghosts? You're probably thinking she's a ghost, but before you come to any conclusion, just tell you the rest. I didn't see her again. I went back the next weekend. I went back several weekends. I even went over after school on some days. Never saw her again over there, which was a shame. I was really disappointed because I was hoping to kind of, I don't know, become permanent friends with her, I suppose. Never saw her again. So that was the end of that. It was all very sad. As it happens, funnily enough, in the same woods, I met another girl, and she lived in Washington. How many miles north of Worthing is Washington? 4, 5? I used to cycle up there at the weekend on my bike to see her. Oh, and there was a haystack up there. She was a proper girlfriend, my first proper one. Tilly was just a friend. But that was the end of that. I didn't see Tilly again until, now this is where my son would say, now this is the thing. He's always saying that. Now this is the thing. 8 years later, when I was 20 years old, I went back to the woods. Nothing much had changed in that time. I wasn't looking for sticklebacks or newts or anything like that. I was looking for a place to put up a wire for my pirate radio aerial. I was into pirate radio, and I thought, great, the woods will be a brilliant place for to transmit one Sunday. And I'm looking up. There's a big oak tree there. I remember that one in particular. I'd remember that from my earlier years over there. And I was looking up at that, then wondering where to put the other end of the area, where I could sight the transmitter, where I could kind of hide in the bushes with the gear. And I looked into the path, into the woods, looked down the path. There was Tilly, standing there. And I walked in, I looked at her, I just pointed and said, Tilly. And she looked at me and just said, yes. And I said, you don't recognise me. And I didn't. The only reason I recognised her was because she looked exactly the same as she had 8 years previously. She hadn't changed, she hadn't grown up. She was still 12 years old or whatever. The same clothes, everything, she hadn't changed. And I don't know, I just looked at her and I said, you're the same. And she frowned. I said, you haven't changed. And she said, you're different. She obviously did recognise me, because I said about the pond and stuff, and she knew who I was. She said, you're different. I said, well, yes. I said, I'm 20, I'm a man. I remember saying that to her, I'm a man, That was something brilliant. Wow. And I said, why haven't you changed? It's probably a daft thing. I don't know what I thought. And she said, I haven't changed, I'm Tilly. And I said, I know you're Tilly, but you haven't grown up, Then I don't know at what point I started thinking that, she wasn't real. I don't know where that thought came in, really. I did say to her, I did say, you're not real. I just sort of came out with it. I wasn't thinking. I remember I just came out with it, you're not real. And she looked at me and she said, you're not real. And I said to her, although this sounds silly, I said to her, you're not of this world. I remember saying that. And she seemed to understand that. She sort of acknowledged that didn't say anything, in her expression. When I said you're not of this world, I know that sounds a daft thing to say, but I just came out with it. I probably read it in a book or heard it on the telly in one of these films or something somewhere. You're not of this world. I didn't say anything daft like, are you undead? Something stupid. But that was incredible. I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to find out what was going on. Where was she? Who was she? And all this sort of thing. I had so many questions. I heard someone talking and a dog barking. I looked round, a couple of people with a dog, and as I looked back, she'd gone. She'd just gone. I went over there many, many times after that, weekends, afternoons, evenings, whenever I thought, I just thought I'd go and have a look. I went over there far too many times, I suppose. I was there sort of most days after work. I'd go over there. But I didn't see her there again. And then, of course, what happened to the lovely woods, the fields, the pond, everything covered in concrete, and there's a housing estate. That was that. You know, what a shame. I don't know why it... anyway, that's that. Everything is ruined, all gone. Houses all put up there. So that was that. Until, how many years later? I was 20. It was 20 years after that. I was 40 something. So it was early 40s. I know that because a friend of mine lived on the housing estate that they built over my woods, my countryside. They ruined it. And because I remember saying to him, you know, when he first moved there, I said, yeah, that's where my woods is, or was. Anyway, it was one evening. I know it was winter because it got dark about 4 o'clock. I was going round to see him. I was driving round there, driving down from the main road, just about to turn into his road, and I saw Tilly walking along the pavement. I couldn't believe it. This is 20 years after I'd last seen her. I stopped the car, I got out, and I called Tilly. She'd gone into the darkness. She'd gone into the darkness. She looked exactly the same still, the little girl. And I looked back at where, you know, she'd just disappeared into the darkness. I didn't go after her. I knew there was no point. But I worked out roughly, there was the shops, there was the road. Where I was in my car, that's where we used to meet. That was the field. You know, the haystack there, the woods there. That was where she used to hang around. And that was it. That really was the last time I ever saw her. If ever I'm out that way, I'll have a quick drive around if it's dark. Never seen her. But I know she's still there. I know she's still out there. Thanks for watching. Bye.